In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the high pressure fuel pump on this Audi A4 Quattro. This vehicle has the 2.0 liter turbocharged engine. This is going to be located at the top towards the back side of the engine. Let's get into it. I'm going to take this side cover off to access the fuses. Use a trim tool. Just get underneath here. Just pry that off. There's the fuses. Now with some needle nose pliers, I'm going to take fuse number 28 out, just like that. Then we're going to start the vehicle, let it run till the vehicle shuts down. Should be about 5 to 20 seconds. And take the fuse, you push this back in. Take the cover, line that up, close it up. We're going to disconnect the battery. You may have a panel over here that you have to remove. This vehicle does not. On the negative side, we're going to use a 10mm wrench. Loosen up the nut. Grab the terminal end and slide it to the side. Anyway, take the engine cover off. Just grab on both sides, pull it up. It comes right off. There's just some grommets holding it on. We're going to take this connecting hose off that goes to the intake. Just push on the tabs on the side. Same width right here. Take that off. We're going to remove this bracket right here. This clamp, just pull up, pull that hose out of the way. Using a 10mm ratchet wrench, I'm going to take this bolt out. Just grab the bracket, take it out. Now we're going to take this fuel line off. We're going to take the fuel line completely off with the pump, because if you were going to try to get the fuel line off the pump, it's going to be kind of difficult. So we're going to use some needle nose pliers. Just move that clamp. Just move that hose clamp. There we go. That looks good. I'm going to try using a pick. Let's get underneath the hose. Just loosen it up a little bit. There we go. Back to the hose pliers. And just push this down. You might lose a little bit of fuel. Just watch your eyes. And not much fuel came out. There's no pressure on that, so that's good. Now we're going to disconnect the high fuel side, high pressure side of the fuel. Use a 17mm wrench. Loosen that up. That off. Disconnect this connector. There's a tab underneath. You want to get under there. Push on the tab. It's right there. This one's broken on this vehicle. And this connector, same thing. There's a tab on the back. Push on the tab. Slide that down. We're going to remove this fitting. Use a 13mm wrench. Crack that free. Just don't want it to fall. little bit of fuel coming out. You can use a rag if you need to. I'm just making sure there's no seal on there. Using a T30 socket, we're going to take that bolt out. That out, and there's 2 bolts on top, same T30 socket. Pull that out. Grab the pump. Should be able to pull it straight out. And there it is. We're going to transfer the hose over to the new pump. I'm just going to use some needle nose pliers. Just move this clamp. Loosen that up. If you get the clamp on the side, it's a little bit easier. You can move the clamp down. And again, get under here with a pick. Twist it back and forth. Twist that off. Keep in mind the direction of the pump. It's going to go on the same way. Slide that on. And you can move the clamp down. Now we're going to loosen up this sensor. Use a 24mm wrench or a socket. And I'm just using some locking pliers or some larger pliers just to hold the body. You could also loosen this up while it's in the vehicle. It'd be a little easier. See if I can grab it over here. There we go. Loosen that up. There you go. There's an O-ring on there. It looks good. If you have to, you want to replace the O-ring. We'll thread that on. We'll snug this up a little bit. We can tighten it up a little more on the vehicle. All right, that's good. Now we're ready to install this on the vehicle. Now where the pump goes, there is a little lifter. You want to reach in, grab that, pull that out, make sure that looks okay. There's no wear on that. That looks good. And then inside there you can see the cam lobe. See if there's any major damage or scoring. This one looks pretty good. And you have to make sure the cam lobe is at its lowest point. If the cam is at the raised point where it's not on the flat side, you're going to have to turn the engine so this little lifter is at the lowest point, and we'll just show you how to turn the engine. Underneath the vehicle, you may have a splash shield right here. You want to remove that. This vehicle doesn't have one. You should have some fasteners around the perimeter. And you can take a 19mm 12-point socket, just go on the crank, just on the crank bolt, just like that. And then you can rotate this clockwise. You can go about 10 degrees at a time if you are by yourself and just double check, or if you need to have someone else looking at the cam to make sure it goes to the lowest setting while you turn this. I'm just going to use a rag, just wipe some of the debris away. Make sure you don't get any dirt in there. You can use a little brake parts cleaner as well. Now take the pump. You can lubricate this O-ring with some silicone or some O-ring lubricant. Just line this up. Push that down. Make sure that's in the right spot. That's good. Get the bolts started. Just make sure the line is lined up down below, so you'll be able to tighten the fitting on. And the pump is all the way pushed down. Get the bolts finger tight. Now we're going to torque these bolts to 6.6 foot-pounds. That's good. We're going to tighten down the low pressure sensor. If you can get a torque wrench on here, you want to torque this to 11 foot-pounds. That's good. I'll get the fuel line fitting on. Get that started. Tighten that down. And if you can get a torque wrench on here, you want to torque this nut, this fitting, to 22 foot-pounds. Now put the low pressure hose on to the fitting down below. Alright, and take the hose clamp, slide that in position. Alright, slide that clamp in place. That's good. Now put this fitting in, get that started. Now you can take the cap off the fitting, and if you can get a torque wrench on here, you want to torque this to 22 foot-pounds. There we go. And take that off. And you put the cap back on. Now we're going to connect the connectors. Connect the low pressure sensor. Lock that down. And connect the other sensor. Lock that in place. Connect this bracket underneath the hose. Get that lined up in position. And take the bolt, get that started. We'll tighten this down. Snug that down. Push down on the clamp. Take this hose, it's going to go underneath. Attach that, lock it in place. Now we're going to connect the battery, take the negative terminal, line it up, take the wrench, snug that down, give it a wiggle, make sure it's tight. And if you have that panel, you want to put that panel on top. Start the vehicle and check for any leaks. If you have any leaks, obviously shut the vehicle off and adjust your fittings. After that's all set, then you can put your engine cover back on, connect your battery. Just line this up and push it down.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.